Hello there, I'm Anna Wild and it is my mission to help you move on to a better birth. Today I'm sharing the story of Amy from Central Coast Australia, who had a really difficult and challenging first birth experience during which she was not really taken care of by her midwife, who kept ignoring her, and she was asking for an epidural. She asked for lots of support, but the midwife just seemed to take no notice. So she had such a challenging experience that she didn't even think she'd ever give birth again because she was so traumatized by that experience. She eventually met a lovely man and they decided, yes, we do want to have another baby. And so she took many empowering steps to support herself towards that next birth experience so that she could have a better birth. And she decided to go to a local birthing unit rather than going to the big hospital, because the idea of going to the same hospital where she'd had the first traumatic birth gave her the heebie-jeebies. So I'm really excited that Amy's decided to share her story with us today. So how long was it before you got pregnant again?
Well, regardless of getting divorced, I was just never going to have another child. I wasn't doing that again.
Wow.
I was happy to not have children. I had fostered before I got pregnant.
Yeah.
I just thought I will adopt, I will foster. So I took in a newborn when Esther was 6 months old.
So was that because of how bad that experience was for you that it totally turned you off childbirth?
Yeah, I would forego a child rather than having that.
So Amy, what happened to change this story? What happened to make you want to have another baby? What happened?
Well, I met my husband not long after I got divorced, and I was living in this lovely little beach shack at Avoca. And he's German, and he's from a long line of only children. So his daughter and my daughter combined, we were quite happy to, financially, it's easier to just have the shit to all of that. But we got to the point where we realised we would like to have a child together, and that logistically it was better sooner rather than later, because I'd like to stay at home with them. Whereas once we're committed to careers and mortgages and things like that, it's harder to be able to have that option of staying home. So I went along to a local, one of my friend's sisters became a doula in the meantime. And so I had liked her page as a courtesy, because she's my friend's sister, and you want your friends, likers and all of that on their Facebook. And I had been seeing these really loved, also liked a photographer, Jane McRae, who's a birth photographer. And so I had been seeing these amazing photos of this woman who, her daughter's name was Miley Coco, so it would come up the birth of Miley Coco, I think. And she looked so happy and so relaxed and just really glorious. And so I started to think, it was a combination of negative factors that had resulted in having a bad experience. Right. So I started to believe that birth could be different.
Wow.
And so I looked into it. And I think one of the worst things I did was I did calm birth. And I believed in it. And I'm not a calm person, I'm a loud person. So they were the only tools in my belt when I went into labour. And being quiet and inward and picturing myself as a deer in the forest in a burrow being safe to have my baby was just not going to work for me. And I didn't know that. I had done my tapes religiously, and it left me feeling even more helpless.
So how did you prepare differently then?
Well, I went along, I heard about a group called the Maternity, which your sister's involved in, and they were having a meeting at Berkeley Vale, and I went along to that, and it was a bunch of women doing birth stories, and there were a lot of women talking about really wonderful second experiences. So one of the women had a C-section, and then she had a baby back at home, and her daughter had been present, and she had this amazing reel of photos, and she talked about it, and they all had these amazing experiences, and there were some really great births from Weil Birth Centre, and there was a midwife there to chat to from two midwives, Helen and Monica from Weil, who were there for people to chat to, and I'm pretty sure the first thing I said to her was, what if someone wants an epidural, what do you do? And she said, I will put them in an ambulance and I will take them to Gosford. They will get that epidural. And it was knowing that, I felt like she would do what I said, and that's what I knew I needed. And then knowing that a doula's job, in my brain is to kind of be like a guard dog for a pregnant woman. It's their job to advocate for you, and they know where the gas is, and they know who's bullshitting to you, and so you can go, you know, I wanted someone who knew what they were talking about and could advocate for me and make sure that my birth was happening my way. And I think also just being a little bit older.
Right.
Like, you know, there's between 22 and 6, like 27 and 26, you know, like just that ownership of, no, it's my body and it's my experience, and it's my experience that I have to live with. And having Monica say that she would get me that epidural, and I knew she meant it. And so I thought, right, okay, well, even though I live an hour from that birth centre, that's fine. I'll take an hour in the car if I feel like the midwife's going to do what I want her to do.
Amy, why did you not just go to the big hospital? Why did you choose to go to the birth centre instead when, you know, if you did want an epidural, you'd have to transfer?
Because the trauma was so intense at birth. The thought of having to go there for anything, even being on that floor in the hospital, would make me break out in a sweat.
Okay.
And I knew that being that stressed out about birth would make it so much harder for me. So I knew that logistically it felt safe and it was different, and they were my only options, apart from home birth. And we didn't have the finances for a home birth practitioner and the insurance and everything. So it's about $5,000 here.
Yeah. So emotionally you felt much safer going to the birth unit because it wasn't associated with the trauma of the first one in the bigger hospital?
Yeah, and I knew that midwife was at Wyong.
Right. Okay, so you were hoping that you'd get that midwife, and you had your doula to be, as you say, your guard dog to advocate for you. Right.
Yeah.
And so what happened? Yeah. What happened then?
Well, I booked in my doula and Jane McRae, the birth photographer, before I even got pregnant. and we decided to try, and we're very lucky. Both of my babies were conceived like 2 weeks after deciding to conceive. There are so many people about to come onto the beach, and I'm sitting here talking, I'm having a child, but it's you. So it's my husband. I thought it was yet another family. I'm talking about birth, but anyway. So we booked in those things, and 2 weeks later I was pregnant. Having a doula and having Monica, my midwife, just made the world of difference. And we had a mother blessing instead of a baby shower, and they all came, and my photographer came as well, like just to be part of that.
Can you explain, for anyone who might watch this, what a mother blessing is if they don't know?
Rather than just having people come over and have morning tea and give gifts to the baby, which is fine, the focus is more on the birth journey. And so my doula facilitated it, and the women of significance in my life came, and I had my daughters there, and it was so important to me that they see the empowerment that can come from birth and pregnancy. And we did things like each of them chose a word that they wanted to speak over my journey, and we had henna, so I had my belly done with henna, and it was just focusing on the women that have gone before me and the women that are going to go after me in the way, and just the awesomeness of birth. So a really positive take on that.
It seems pretty incredible to me, talking with you, Amy, that it sounds like you made a massive transition or shift in your thinking during that pregnancy, that, wow, it could be different.
Yeah, and it was very consciously done. I worked very hard on it. I went to prenatal yoga, and we learnt pain coping mechanisms, like the low om and different chants that can help your body release like pain relieving chemicals. And also it was a real journey of self-discovery, looking at what I need to help me relax. And my relaxation looks very different to other people's relaxation. There's a lot of people kayaking. So when I finally did go into labour, because it was technically, if you go off my dates on my scans, it was either right on 41 weeks or right on 42 weeks. So again, over the 40 weeks, recognizing the normal and trying not to stress about that. I looked up a lot of birth affirmations. I had them written up on my wall, and I thought about, this is an emergence, not an emergency. And rather than trying to dismiss the pain and say, oh, this isn't painful, it was, this is pain with purpose. Yeah. And embracing the pain and trying to use it. But in the end, I wouldn't describe it as painful the second time around. It was wholly different, just completely worlds apart. It was the kind of experience that I'd read about and thought, yeah, okay, I don't know, like...
Why was that, Amy? Why was it that you could say, like, why did you say, well, oh, it wasn't totally, it was different?
Because it was beautiful.
Oh.
It was amazing. It was empowering. It was so good, and it was fun, and it was glorious. It was so amazing. It was not scary. It wasn't easy like walking to the shop. It was easy in that I prepared, and it went even better than I'd hoped. And it was like a party. It was so much fun because the birth centre is so beautiful. It's got this huge tub and a big bed, and they make it really clear that you can birth wherever you want. If you want to be on the floor, they'll put the mat on the floor for you. If you want to be in the bathroom, the pool, or whatever. And so I had my midwife who came in on her night off so she could be there for me. I had my birth photographer, I had my doula, and I had my husband. And we had music going, and it was, they were all kind of laughing, but I was really enjoying hip-hop when I was pregnant, and it's not, I normally like folk indie music, but I was right into the Hilltop Hoods, so I'm bouncing on a birth ball, rapping to Hilltop Hoods, like, watch me do my thing, like, full bouncing, getting into it, and then Jay-Z, I got nine problems, hit me up, like, getting right into it. And it was just so much fun. It was so great, and I was prepared for a really, really long journey, more helicopters. And I jumped in the back thinking that I'd be able to have a nap, and they all knew what was happening. They're so clever, like they knew what was going on. So they were around the bath, and it was go time, and they were doing internals. It was great. They could see from the purple line. I had a really clear purple line, so Monica knew that I was ready to go. I thought I was sitting about 6 centimetres. She said, you need to get through 12 hours of this. You can do this. I was giving myself this pep talk. So I said, no, you're done. This is it. Wow. I was like, yes, I can push a baby out. That's nothing. It's the 12 hours of contractions I was worried about. Right. So it was great.
And so then how long were you pushing for?
I think I could have had him out in 10 minutes.
Wow.
But he was 11 pounds, basically, 10 pounds 13. So we knew he was going to be big. So we had talked about, I wanted coaching, I wanted slow, I wanted to minimise the damage. Yeah. And so my doula was there with cold water that I would scull between surges, and Monica would coach me and say, all right, Amy, stop, breathe, just pant, yeah. and then I'd feel him move up a little bit. Oh. But as soon as I did that first push, he was kind of knocking at the door to come out. He was ready to come out. But it was all about being really patient in that time because we knew he was going to be really big, and we just wanted to minimise the damage and to make the recovery as easy as possible. So I think it was 20 minutes.
20 minutes, wow. So this is almost 11-pound baby, pushing them out in 20 minutes. I mean, that's amazing. But so tell me, what was it like when you met your baby? Tell me what it was like.
It was amazing. He was so big. And he came out like this, Supermaning, wow. Which was really, because there was this point where his head had come out, and I heard like a little bit of panic because he had this huge barrel chest, and we had to do on the side of the side to just angle things better because it was a water burner, and then I don't remember it being difficult, and he just came out. There was a lot of effort involved, but he came out, and he was just this fat, giant baby, and he was all swollen. His eyes were kind of swollen shut, and we were just amazed, that it had happened, that we were at the end, that we'd gotten that perfect birth experience that I had been reading about and hoping for and working towards, and it had gone so much better than I had hoped.
So, Amy, like, given your entire birthing experience now of the 2 births, what have you learned about birth that you wish all mothers knew in the beginning?
Only having people I trusted in my birthing room made me so much more comfortable, and I think that helped my body do what it needed to do.
So if there was someone like you had a really difficult birth and you were talking with them and you just wanted to share that, you'd say it's so important to get people with you who you really trust. Is there anything else that you'd say to someone who was feeling as scared as you were?
I think it's hard because every person's so different. I love to learn. So my natural advice is learn about birth.
Yeah.
Learn about all of the options, because there are a million ways to give birth. There are a million settings. There are a million options, so if you learn about different things like doulas and midwives or obstetricians and birth centres and home births and hospital births or forest births or free births or unassisted births, then you're going to feel empowered to make choices, and that if you're really scared, just know that you don't have to be, because there are so many people who have had horrible first births and the most amazing second births, and I keep hearing about them. If you're the kind of person that likes to learn and likes to have options, and I like to be in control, so you can't control the birth itself, but you can control every element around it. And if that's what it takes for you to go, sweet, it's okay for my body to be in control of the birth, for the birth to happen, then that's good.
Thank you so much, Amy, for sharing your story. It's really empowering to hear your words and just the way that your confidence changed with your second birth experience. Thank you so much.
Thank
Look
you.
at him.
Look at those stars.
Are you beautiful? Thank you so much for watching. If you've been inspired, please share, because your voice supports positive, confident childbirth for all mothers everywhere. Make a comment, send this link to your friends, post on Facebook, and sign up for your free guide to a better birth at thebirthwhisperer.com.